Hi, I'm Sherri Langburt. I hope when you look back on your life, you trust your instincts because your true instincts are going to lead you down the right path and make you happy because you only go once.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, to You Only Go Once. I am joined by my spectacular co-host, Eileen Grimes, and we have a very special guest. Eileen, kick us off.
Thanks, Cheryl. So today we have Sherri Langburt on with us. Sherri is the CEO of Babbleboxx and has been a pioneer in the influencer marketing space since 2007. A passion for storytelling and brand marketing, and a desire to create an innovative social media solution led Sherri to create Babbleboxx, the influencer marketing agency best known for its co-sampling and signature box solutions. Babbleboxx currently provides a range of integrated marketing services to brands across industries. So Sherri, welcome, welcome, welcome. I also want to just say, Sherri is with us, and I see she's got this really cool background with her that also has cocktails and conversations. So we might have to talk a little bit about that too. But Sherri, welcome.
Thank you. I forgot to change my backdrop, and I don't drink, which is the funny thing that this is my backdrop.
There you go.
I'm the only person in America who quit drinking during COVID, but yes.
You know, I don't think you are actually. Well, that's a whole that could be a whole episode. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
definitely.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, what's really been cool is I've just seen a lot of different options now too for not drinking. So I'm actually very curious about some of the newer things, even just very recently that we've seen. But anyway, let's talk about you, Sherri, and Babbleboxx. I mean, gosh, you've been in this influencer space for so long. What brought you there?
So I worked in corporate America at Weight Watchers, and just, it's a membership model, right? Gets people to subscribe, but I felt like there needed to be like a division of like ad sales. Like, we were leaving money on the table. And so as we got into that, then it became a little bit more of, I was on the Canadian side from New York, but the US side also started ad sales. And then they started working with influencers back then called bloggers. And so I was like, all these brands are only talking to mommy bloggers. I am going to create a blog that's for single living, cooking for one, travel for one, insurance, health, everything. And I did that, and it got me tons of publicity, but I couldn't get anyone to sponsor it. So some smart gentleman who I still am in touch with today said, if there's one like you, there must be hundreds. And so he said, go find them. And I did. Fitness influence. Like there was no one was talking to these people. So they were writing on blogs about fitness and recipes, but most people just were talking to the moms at that point. So that's kind of how I started working with bloggers back in the day.
Interesting. I mean, it's such a wide space, and it can feel so lonely at times being out just in the internet, right? And so that's fascinating when people start thinking big picture like that and how to kind of bring some of those things together. So really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I thought so big picture. I think I stumbled into it because my big picture wasn't big enough. So yeah, but no, yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. But you know what? Even stumbling sometimes is the best. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever had a true plan for my pathway in life. So I feel like stumbling is kind of great sometimes.
Yeah, me too. That's what I told my son.
So that's how you started there. So how did Babbleboxx then come about? What's the story then that got you from there to here, and what are you doing now?
So I did this for many years, and it became a point where it was still, even in 2016, brands were still like, we don't know, we don't have budget, or it's too expensive. And at the same time, the whole unboxing, but also subscription boxes, right? Like the Birch boxes, what's the pet one called? Bark box. And so everyone was like fascinating. I'm like, that's really visual. It's going to look really good. And if you take 5 brands and put them in a box, you're saving them money because they're chipping in. So the media buy, even though they're sharing it, it's not as expensive. So it was kind of a play on a bunch of different things. And I kind of just said, let's go print a box, get 5 brands and see what happens. And we did it. And the brands loved it. The influencers loved it. The engagement and the traffic was through the roof. from that first one. So I was like, okay, there needs to be themed boxes, not just beauty. Like we did like Super Bowl was the next one and resolutions was one that we did right away. So yeah, that's how it kind of started.
Yeah, I can't believe how popular, especially on YouTube, the unboxing videos are. It's mind blowing to me because I'm like, they're literally opening a box, but they make it sound like you've just opened Pandora's box. Like
Right.
this is going to be the greatest thing ever. And it's like a music CD. And they're like, oh, look at the artwork and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. And then the reaction videos. So my husband listens to or will watch reaction videos to music.
Okay.
So that to me is fascinating because you get to see people from different demographics reacting like, oh my goodness, look at this person. Like I remember I watched a young woman who had never heard of Queen before react to Queen. And I was like, oh my, and you also,
Right.
I'm of an age now where I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. How did you
Right.
never hear this? And yet, I haven't heard of half the people that are out there. So do you do reaction videos as well to these Babble boxes that are open? Do you use that as part of your marketing, or is that part of the charm that is Babbleboxx? Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we don't. What we see is that the influencers, when they do their content, why the boxes are so now we also do those co-promotions where it's 5 different brands and a theme, like me, mom,
Yes.
and baby.
Yes.
But then we also do, so the influencers are doing all the content. We also do
Mm-hmm.
custom kits. So like bigger brands will say, well, we need a custom kit. And with that, I think what's the benefit is that the consumer, like the audiences get so excited,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also like it provides like props for the influencers to use. And so it
Sure.
changes the content. And I think that the brands like it because they could also use it for so many reasons, right? They could use it for giveaways and sweepstakes. Some companies are using it to send to like buyers at supermarkets or retailers, press kits, sales kits. So there's a lot of use cases. So I think that we just, it started an influencer and now it's kind of like every time we do a custom kit, it's like the brands want them for all different reasons. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
interesting and
Sure.
exciting.
I've noticed lately that people who are promoting their books will also use them too. Different boxes, like they'll send the book along
Yep.
with like a candle or
It's a kit
it's a kit. It is. It's a kit. It's amazing.
because it creates this experience and
Yes.
and especially I think people want the beautiful packaging and the kit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could be the simplest pair of pajamas, but if it comes with a candle and an eye mask, all of a sudden it
It's
creates that
special.
it's special. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
What was your
go
first
on.
one? I'm sorry.
No, go,
Oh,
please.
so our first one was beauty, and it
Mm-hmm.
was 5 brands. I'm going to say it was a perfume brand by I think Taylor Swift.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes, I think she was in there. She was in maybe it was Katy Perry. I don't remember, but yeah, yes,
Okay.
yeah. So the first one was perfume, and then makeup forever, and then there was a company called Winky Lux, which I don't even know if it's around, but so there was
Mm.
5 beauty brands, and it went to 20 beauty influencers, and they all just kind of, but that was our battle box. So that's the one where there's multiple brands and a theme, and it was like beauty for like Party Me Pretty. It was a holiday box, and then the next one right after that was Resolution, and then after that was Super Bowl.
Okay.
Got it. So how does
Cool.
that work then? So, you have a beauty box, right? Do different influencers get like specific? So they'd have to be a beauty influencer to get this beauty box. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, and it's not like when you think of like the subscription boxes where people are shipping
Sure.
40,000. It's not a tiny sampling box. So we send real size big products. So it's a
Mm,
media buy. So we're sending it to 20 influencers that we vet, that we make sure they're going to sign a contract, follow the guidelines, and they have to create, they get paid, but it's
yeah.
only 20 for each box. So it's very controlled. So when you talk, I think one of the things you were thinking about was like sizing or makeup, so if it's only 20, it's very easy for us to say, this beauty brand is on board. What is your tone of lipstick that you want? So then because it's only 20, we're able to like make each box specific to the influencer, shoe sizes, clothing sizes, things like that.
Interesting. For the influencer side, I think influencing is just such a fascinating world and space. And, there are sides of every, approval, disapproval, whatever you want to call it, within that space. I'm curious, how do you kind of keep up to date on that? Are people applying to become a part of this? Is it something that once you're in, you're in? Just because, as you know, the world of social media changes and different people are become more influential in those spaces. And how do you guys kind of keep up to date with that side of it? While obviously having to do all that vetting, it seems like a lot.
So the funny thing is, I think there's a massive opportunity for podcasters, but I think you both are influencers, but so shout out. I have done research. The biggest conversion in any kind of purchase is on podcasts. So you should know that.
Interesting.
Just putting it out there. But so look, for our world, there's different types of solutions, right? There are platforms where they go and scrape TikTok or Instagram and they just import all these people into a database and they'll have criteria. This platform is only going to have influencers who have over 1 million. This one's only going to have people who, this is going to be TikTok. This is going to be YouTube. This is going to be everything. Then there's the other approach. We have people like what you said, they come to us, they apply because then we're not just scraping the whole universe of anyone who's an influencer. And we build relationships that way. So we're not a talent agent. We don't just have like 20 influencers and these are the people. We have thousands, but it's not millions because they come to us, they fill out a profile, they give us access to all different kind of parts of their social platforms. And then when we have a campaign, we say, okay, we need, some things can be really specific. Like we need moms who live in, North Dakota who have 2 daughters, 2 and 4. We have to go do that research.
Yeah.
So
if you were to give advice for someone who's looking to be an influencer, what would you tell them?
I would say start local. Because I think people don't know where to start. I'd say also join some of these networks because some of the and start with like maybe kind of barter or affiliate, like, because when you're just starting out, brands are not going to say, oh, here's $1,000 or here's $500. So you have to start with like, either I'm going to do reviews of product in kind, or I'm going to do affiliate where you get the commission only, and then go from there. Local's a great way to go. And I would do very niche, because the more niche you are, like, it might seem like there's fewer opportunities, but when you nail that niche, like, then you become the person that everyone like goes to.
And that makes sense, because then you also have a very dedicated audience that is, they're going to come to you and, they know that you know your stuff. They know, and anything you're going to be sharing is going to be stuff that you care about or get behind. So that makes sense. Local, interesting. I never really thought about that, because I think so many people think, well, it's big picture, like it's social media. I see everybody and can go everywhere. When sometimes just starting in your community makes so much sense.
Yeah, when I say local, I don't mean like, oh, the independent gym that's only in your town, fine. But the other thing is, like, there's a lot of local businesses that sell national. So they're gonna be excited that you live near them and you can come. Like, there's a woman in my town and she's a makeup company. She sells national, but she's always looking for people nearby to help her with whatever. So if you all of a sudden develop that relationship, her products sell national, but she does need people nearby to help her. So it's a good way.
So, Sherri, if you were to go back to 10-year-old Sherri, what would she think about just where you are now, what you're doing? And, if you could give her any advice, what would that be?
I'm going to start to cry.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
10-year-old Sherri. I don't think 10-year-old Sherri would believe where she would be, that I'm here. I think that I, probably thought I was going to have I don't think I thought I'd be a career person. There's no way.
Sure.
And I don't think 10-year-old Sherri thought she would live in the United States. I'm from Canada. And what advice would I give her? I would just tell her to trust her gut. Because so many people along the way just, oh, you must be crazy. Oh, you're dreaming. Oh, that never, and, you just get so many no's along the way that I would just tell her to trust her instincts.
I love that. And I honestly, it's for me, that's a big one. So I hear you. And sometimes especially when you hear so much noise around you, whether it's noise or you're crazy or whatever, and to even get the quiet to just listen to your gut sometimes it's hard, and it has to be almost really intentional to make sure that you're able to do that. So I think that's fantastic advice. And I think 10-year-old Sherri would love a hug for that too.
I was just thinking about what you said, starting local, because so I run a little free library, but sometimes I have surplus of books and I didn't know what to do with them. And one day I stumbled on something that's literally around the corner for me, local. And so this place, what they do is they do subscriptions of gently used books. Yeah, which is great.
Amazing.
Yes. What I found out from them was they just did videos, like just fun video. They are funny. So they do these videos of their boxing, stuff like that. And it somehow managed to go on TikTok. And then the whole thing exploded to the point where their website crashed because they're like, oh, we think this is great. This is going to be a good thing. So I love what you're doing because you never know what opportunities arise from something like this, right? I do. I just love that. In this world, like, what would be your perfect day? Like, what would be like, yes, this is it. Like, this is the most perfect day in my history in Babbleboxx. Like, what would that look like for you?
Is that work, or are you saying like my perfect day personally?
I'll take any answer to either. So what's your perfect day look like for you personally, since you're most likely working around the clock on Babbleboxx? So what does your perfect day look like if you had a chance to have it all to yourself?
Emotional and triggering.
Yes.
Okay, so it has to start. I'm not a big coffee drinker, but I always have to have a little bit of coffee with my coffee creamer because that just makes the start of my morning.
Yeah.
And then it would involve water and some type of me being on a kayak, probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if I could drag my 11-year-old, but he's not such a fan. He likes the paddleboard, but I don't know if he likes the paddleboard. It would either be that or skiing with my son.
Nice.
My son is saying hi from the background. I don't know.
Hello. I love it. I love kayaking. I did when I lived in Berkeley. There was I think they called it the moonrise kayak. So we went out before sunset. So we went out, paddled out, and then got to watch the sunset. And then we got to watch this, and then we went to another spot and then watched the moonrise, and it was just incredible. And recently my kids, so I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old, and they're both like, we want to go kayaking. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I did this summer. So what happened was I turned 50 during COVID. Thank you. And my friends chipped in because none of them were going to go with me. So they bought me kayaking REI trip, like a camping trip. And they're like,
fun.
You're going by yourself because none of us will do this. I didn't go the year before. So this past summer, I actually went on this trip with a bunch of strangers in Grand Tetons, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds like my kind of trip. So
I was going to say, they sound like great friends. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. Well, they didn't go with me, but that's the other part. Camping is not for everyone, right?
No,
True.
It's not. But you know what? There's something to be said about solo trips that can be very soothing for the soul too.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic.
That's cool. Yeah. I'm gonna have to do that because I have to figure out because they're both still young enough where I'm like, can you just get a regular kayak for the kids? There's the doubles. I know that, right? But do you just get a regular adult kayak? I'll ask REI.
I don't know. No, for the trips. Oh, they go in a double for sure. But my son never. He was always like, I'm going to paddleboard. So he's standing and paddleboarding. Yeah.
I have not yet tried that, and I feel like I would just get very tired standing. I'm like, I just want to sit down for a little bit.
I would fall in. I don't think
that too.
Yeah. Not a good thing.
Yeah. No. And we have, so around here in Spokane, there's a lot of people that do all the outdoor activities also. And so like this summer we went out to the river, and some guy was, he came down on the paddleboard, and he's got his dog hanging out
on the
board. It's like, we have 2 dogs, and they would not stay on the paddleboard like that. So,
but they, what's funny is they seem small, but when you actually get close to them, they're kind of big. Like they're not. Yeah. So
are they? Because they do look small from a distance.
but my dog is 8 pounds and there's no way she'd get on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. So does your son have interest in Babbleboxx? Like
He
playing a
does-
role or anything?
So we made him the official toy ambassador. We got him
Oh,
a few years ago to
fantastic.
toy fair when he was
Mm.
like 8.
Mm.
And then now he's shifted roles in the organization and he helps. We do charity, like we create candy boxes for an organization called One Simple Wish. And so it's
Okay.
for foster kids. And so we send them candy. So his responsibility is to pack all the candy for the kids.
Oh
So
my gosh, I love that.
yeah.
That's incredible. How often do those go out?
So it's when they need it, but it's
Oh,
usually
okay.
every season. So we'll do, a Christmas box or a holiday box and then a spring box. And then their big push, I think, is the summer and then a bag. So it's like usually 4 times a year. And sometimes they have other like special projects that go on, but he's packing candy. Eats one, packs one.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get that.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair compensation, I think. That
Yeah.
works. Yeah. I love that you have your son involved, and I love that you are doing something that takes care of kids who don't have. So that's wonderful. I know that, Eileen and I know just from personal experience that setting up a podcast does not happen, in and of itself. And we have a lot of people to thank along the way and continue to do so. Are there people in your life, if you had a chance, that you would say thank you to?
My parents,
Yeah.
they're like my rock solid.
Mm.
And I thank them every day. So, and the person that probably shaped me the most in my life, who's no longer with us, is my grandmother. So she was like another mother to me.
Mm.
And I kind of thank her every day too, pretty much. I think that, it's funny when you're like going through the growing and you're like yelling at your parents, even when you're 20s or 30s. And now it's like every day is like, they're still my business advisors. I'll call them every day. Like, what do I do about this? My dad's like 88 and I'm calling him like, he taught me everything I know. So yeah, I'm thankful to them.
It's incredible how much of a gift they are or can be. I know that there are definitely spaces and relationships that struggle a little bit more with parent-child relationships. So I'm not saying that everyone has that, and I understand that. And I don't know, the older I am, the more grateful I get to have them and the things that I learned from them, and try to be, just to appreciate as much as I can.
Yeah.
With them here.
Yeah. It's like you don't realize that when you're younger, I think.
No. You're definitely parent stupid when you're younger. Yeah, I've learned mostly. I lost my mom last year, and I know that there's so many things that I wish I could have said to her. There are so many things that I wish I would have done with her. So I know how important it is when we say every day is a gift. So every day is a gift that you have your parents, and God love you. Your dad's 88, and that's fantastic. And I'm sure if he's anything like my dad is pretty sprightly and wants to get involved and do stuff like that. So keep him involved. Yeah.
I had a funny bit I was going to put on it. It didn't, the sound didn't work, but I got them on FaceTime. And I don't know why the volume when you try to record a FaceTime doesn't work, but I was like, can you tell me what an influencer is? And my mother got it spot on. And then my father, I mean, you got to understand, this is like, these people are from Siberia. Like they were born in in a slave camp in Siberia, and they both got it. And I'm like, oh my God, like you get what I do. But I thought that they were going to be like, well, we don't know what you do, but we're proud of you. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Like you're seen. They see you.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially, I don't know, after I've had kids now too, I do understand that they are pushing away, and I'm not hurt either by that as their parent. Like that's a totally normal thing for you now to be like, I need to be my own human being, and I want them to be their own human being and learn what that means and looks like. And, eventually they'll come back around, and that's okay too. So I don't, it's interesting now to see it from sort of both of those perspectives, having been the one trying to push away, and now being the one that's starting to be pushed, but there's just so much love.
Young. Your kids are young.
Well, not my daughter's still like, she's right. All the wants to be right with me, but my son's 9 and he goes to a Montessori school, and they have 4, 5, and 6 mixed together. So he's got a little bit of influence from some of the 6th graders and stuff. And, that is, it plays a part. So
very cool age. That's what we're living
so
through
cool.
right now. Yeah.
I'm so uncool, but I'm okay with that. I'm a math major. And, so like, look, I accept my uncoolness and I'm just okay with that. So it's fine.
Maybe you could tutor me after this session.
I know that it's played a great role in my life, certainly. But yeah, so I've accepted the uncoolness and I'm very okay with them just being super embarrassed of me for singing to them at random times and doing things, but they will certainly remember it when they're older. So I'm going to keep doing it. So, as Cheryl was talking about having created this podcast and even, really understanding the entrepreneur's journey within this space, was there ever a point where, and I know you were saying people are telling you you're crazy and all of that stuff. Was there ever a point where you almost gave up, and why didn't you?
So yes, when I first started, it was like no one was responding. And like, again, you think like in the movies, like, oh, she was in the New York Times, like she's going to get a book deal. Like no one cared. Like it was just my, friends calling, oh my God, this is so exciting. But at the same time, a job came up and I was like, I always go for a job I learned that I would really love. And this was like, oh my God, like Weight Watchers, when I worked there, I was like, this is my dream job. I wanted to do that. And this was one of those. And so it had been like 3 years and this job came up and I was in the final 2 and I'm like, okay, if I get this, I'm going to do it. And then the hiring woman is actually someone pretty famous. And she didn't give me the job and she called me to a lunch and she said, you need to do what you're doing. And again, back then it was like this website for singles, but she's like,
wow,
you can't work in corporate America. You need to be an entrepreneur. And she just said, no, you can't get the job, even though like you're my number 1 candidate. I'm going to go with candidate number 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously whoever this was, but also the universe being like, no, that's the way, go that way, keep going.
Yeah. And it was also, I have one of my dear friends from work. He would always say, no, you got to keep going. I mean, there were a lot of times when you're starting out and like, again, no one even knew what an influencer, a blogger, like people thought I was, out, like you gave up this great job and like you're writing about singles. And then they thought I was like writing about dating. And I'm like, I'm not really writing about dating. And my best friend just kept saying, keep going. It's going to turn into something. And I didn't know that it would turn into this, right? And people are like, oh, you pivoted, but I'm like, I don't think it's a pivot. I think it's like a pinball machine. Like I just went with the flow,
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of amazing people also around you to support you in that and to keep encouraging you. Because I mean, that can be piece of it, right? If you don't have the support to say, keep going, the no's can get very hard if you're completely alone. And even if they're not in the business piece of it with you, just to have friends, family, whatever that looks like for you, that love you and want to see you succeed. And if that's the thing that's you, they know that and they're not going to let it fall down. So I'm so glad that you have those people in your life. And I hope they're still around. Obviously your parents are a piece of that also.
Yeah, they're all still around. Yeah, I'm very lucky. And I think now what I keep looking at, it's like amazing to read some of the statistics of like what they're saying is the next epidemic or the biggest epidemic is loneliness. And when like it's going to, surpass and when I think of like the influencers, it is a very lonely because you're basically alone working from home. And a lot of these people are in parts of the country that there isn't that much,
Yeah.
community around them. And then they don't go
Mhm.
into an office or,
Mhm.
so I think that that's like something that we need to look at, like how these people are working alone and how do we build community around them? Because there's millions of
Right.
them.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean,
Yeah.
even for myself, I started working remotely, oh gosh, but it was before the pandemic. So it was in 2017, um, having moved from the East Coast and to move over here. And you just don't build up the network of people when you are working remotely. And it was fine. And I'm a full-time mom and doing all of that stuff too. So that like the world of
They're
things is just
busy.
so busy. Right.
Yeah.
But now they're getting a little bit older and, I've intentionally inserted myself into the community to meet other people and do that kind of stuff, because if not, I can be on my computer all day doing what I need to do, and then I'm done, and then that's it. And I've found that for myself, but it can be very difficult to do that, especially if you don't have the immediate connection into something, right? It's like, how do I go out and start doing that and making those connections? And I'm luckily not in a super, super remote area. So there's a downtown and things like that I can go to. But yeah, there's a lot of places that's not necessarily the case,
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily true.
And I think, I mean, so I've been remote since the beginning, right? Since 2007. And I
Mhm.
tell you that like when COVID was happening, oh, we knew we were doing these Zoom calls like in 2000, we were doing
Right.
live stream events in 2009. So, or whatever.
Mhm.
But I know for me, when you don't leave the house, it becomes harder to say, okay, not like in a bad way, but you just like what you're saying, like I like being at my desk and I'd rather be
Mhm.
here and do my thing than have to go, make small talk. I don't know. So yeah, I could see that is a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard it's with the pandemic too. I heard it's changed the dating world as well. I have a couple people that I talk to who are single, and they do talk about how it's changed the game of dating,
I
because
can't
with the
imagine.
pandemic it was everybody's online. Of course, everybody has a different facade when they're online until you meet them, and then it's something different. And even then, you've got to say like are you sick? Are you,
Oh,
it's all this weird, it's all this weird stuff that you didn't even think of to go. We were used to, for me, like I met my husband inadvertently at college. I mean, I introduced him to his first girlfriend, and then we got together. Oh, I want to say 15 years later or something ridiculous. So it's just, yeah, long story, whole different story. But uh, otherwise I would have met, other people at bars, or I would have met, that would have been my dating trajectory.
right,
And you
right.
take that social aspect away from it, and doing this is fine because you can still read facial expressions and stuff like that. But there's something to be said about being able to see the whole person, and see them interact in social experiences
Oh
and
yeah.
things like that, right? So because lots of people are perfectly comfortable at home, and then you get them outside and it's like they don't know what to do with themselves. So it's just a fascinating thing. I'm those people, by the way. You put me out in public now, I'm like, hi. Yeah, it's just hi. Yeah, so it's a good time. But yeah.
If your pants
I
still fit, not you
it,
specifically.
oh, you could say that the pandemic pudge was real
The
and not
pandemic
cool.
pudge. Great
It is the
t-shirt.
pandemic pudge. Yeah. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt, one that
I think so.
Oh.
fits eventually. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I applaud you, Sherri, because it sounds like not only are you tenacious, but you have what I'm seeing as generational tenacity. So clearly, I mean, you casually slipped in that your parents were at a Siberian camp. Like that's kind of where they were. And I'm like, yeah, that's not the suburbs. That had to be difficult. And I'm sure that's a whole other podcast episode. Hint. But yeah, yeah. So, and then, you're there, your son is tenacious, he wants to be involved in your business, and he does it with kindness. So again, I applaud you for your tenacity and sticking through all of this. And you know what? There is something to be said about, I know we call it snail mail. It's like, but those boxes bring joy to people who receive them, whether or not they're influences or not. Like, there is something to be said. Like, you get something in the mail and it's like, oh, I got something in the mail, versus an email where it's like, oh, an email. Great. Another one. Let me just add it to the pile. But there is something so glorious about receiving a box or a package or a letter in the mail. And
I wish I got a letter. Oh, anyone listening, I want to get a letter in the mail. I love
All
letters.
right. Well, we'll put it out there for you.
Let us know.
Oh my goodness.
It's true though. I actually got a surprise box the other day from
I love this story.
It was fantastic because I walked outside, and speaking of influencers, my son loves Mr. Beast. It's just
me too.
Yep. So we got a Beast sweatshirt, so he could have that. I was expecting that to come. So I saw that package outside, picked it up, but then there was a box, and I was like, I don't know, not sure what this is. So just the inner child, like playful nature of me is like, I can't wait to see what this is going to be. It's not a bill. It's not something that I have to be a grown up about. I get to like just enjoy the pure surprise of what is going to exist within this box. It could be nothing really that exciting, but I don't know what it is. So let's go. So I open it, and it's a stuffed pigeon.
My son would love that. It's his favorite animal, I think.
Is it? Well, I'm gonna have to tell you which one it is. It's super soft too, so I'm loving that. So I work full time in consulting, and well, that's again a whole other story. But teaching executives and companies how to basically lead human first. So like with empathy and belonging, and human first. Anyway, my boss and I were talking one day about mission, purpose, and vision. I was very tired that day and accidentally smushed all of them together and said, my pigeon. So now, now awesome. Anytime we have my pigeon meetings that are when we talk about the big strategy level type of things.
She sent you a pigeon.
She sent me a stuffed pigeon.
That's hilarious.
It's so good. But it was, I mean, just pure joy to be like, I'm not sure what's going to happen in this box, but let's do it. And as soon as I saw it, I knew, didn't say who it was from. Honestly, like, I know.
that was like with the candy boxes. Like we get so much stuff here, right? Because every brand is sending us like toys. I would just send out free boxes to people, but I don't know who to send it to. But yeah, I mean, I could put it on social, but then I think we'd get inundated with.
You sure would.
But there's so much because they always send extra stuff. And I'm always trying like, how do we turn this into a program where we could be? So we've done some things, but it's very tricky with donations and stuff because this organization can only take this and this. And like, we have all different kinds of stuff. So it's tricky, but yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. But yeah, just the joy of all of those things, I think is just wonderful. And people get to experience that. I mean, do you, I mean, I know it's like the influencer thing and there's pay and all that stuff, but like you get to bring people joy.
Yeah, we do.
That's cool.
Actually, because of everything that we've kind of touched on here, I said we should do more stuff with the influencers because we're working with the brands a lot, and we do work with the influencers, but I feel like we need to rally behind and build some sort of community because yes, there's like these events for influencers, but is there really community for them? And it's hard because I think they're all at different stages, right? That there's the newer ones and the bigger ones and the different categories, right? But I think that at the end of the day, they all kind of need some sort of community.
Yeah. I mean, we all do. That's where humans are social creatures and we need that from each other. And I'm sure they're seen, but they're not seen in the way that makes them feel more human. So I think that would be an incredible way to support and serve them too.
Yeah.
So one of our last questions, and this, I mean, I feel like maybe we're even heading towards it, interestingly enough, but for the future of, well, for you personally or Babbleboxx, what is the direction you see sort of happening next? Or is your hope to keep growing? Is it to do you want to eventually someone else can take this and I'm going to sell that and I'm going to go live in the Bahamas or something, right? But what is sort of what are your hopes and dreams, and what is sort of that next step for you of where you want to take your life and or Babbleboxx, and what would you want to be happening next?
So I think what I've learned in the past few years is that, they say, oh, the leopard can't change his stripes, or an old dog can't. And I really don't think that that's true. Like I have every day I'm trying to learn new things or change certain behaviors and so that's how I want to live. You get to a point in life where the stupid stuff is just stupid and you just want to do the stuff that is good for you, not help, just makes you happy. And, I say to my team every day, this is a fun place. If you don't I want people that we're all happy, and I want to make my clients happy. I want to make my team happy. And I want to keep growing, but growing because I love what I do. It's creative. Yeah. I love being creative.
And that I completely understand and hear that. If I was ever not creative, I mean, Cheryl knows this about me at least, where I'm if I have to just sit and do the same thing over and over, I'm out.
Yeah. So you're lucky though. You have the math and the creative because
right.
So my mom was a musician or is a musician, and my dad's a mathematician. So it's sort of just
yeah, but my mother always says that if you're in music, then you have to be good at math.
Well, it does help. It certainly helps because then if you're reading music, you have to understand triplets, and you have to be able to cut all of those into pieces, but there's also the art of it too, right? There's the creation of something that never existed before, and that has to come through you. And I think there's just something really special.
It's so rare to see people who have both mindsets, right? So I can't add 2 + 2, but creatively I'm okay. And then, I think that most people I know is either one or the other, but you're very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Yes. Sherri, we're coming to the end of our episode. How can people connect with you?
So on Babbleboxx, on any of the channels, it's either Babbleboxx with 2 X's. So Instagram, or it's Babbleboxx Official. That's probably because we couldn't get the Babbleboxx or someone took it, but Babbleboxx Official. And then me personally, I think I go by Sherri Lang because people never can figure out my last name. It's really Langburt, but I think on Instagram I'm Sherri Lang. I think on Facebook too, I'm Sherri Lang.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Well, on behalf of Eileen and myself, I just want to thank you again, Sherri, for joining us. And for our dear listeners, thanks once again, for spending time with us. And this closes out another episode of You Only Go Once. Thank you. Bye.